Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist, brought to you by One Pitch. The guests on our show include some of the most notable journalists from the top US-based publications who cover topics including technology, lifestyle and culture, health, science, consumer products, and business news. We discuss their role, the types of stories they cover, what their inbox looks like, and how they connect with sources. Our guest on the show this week is Issie Lapowsky, a senior reporter for Protocol. Issie's coverage centers around the intersectionality of technology, politics, and national affairs. Prior to joining Protocol, Issie was a senior writer for Wired, a contributor at CBS, and a reporter staff writer for Inc. magazine. During today's episode, Issie starts by sharing more about the uniqueness of Protocol's coverage as an outlet, who she gets the best stories and ideas from, how many follow-ups are acceptable, and more. Let's jump into the episode now.
Welcome, everyone. This is Coffee with a Journalist. We are 60-something episodes in. I'm Beck Bamberger, the host of this lovely podcast, and I run BAM and I run One Pitch, and we talk to journalists all the time, which is a lot of fun, and always talk about what they're drinking, what they're maybe eating, what they've made in quarantine, all this great stuff. And today, very exciting, from Protocol is Issie Lapowsky, a senior reporter who's covering all types of juicy topics. Issie, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now, Issie, we heard you used to be at Wired, you used to be at CBS, you even used to be an adjunct professor. Okay.
That was fun because I was at NYU and I went to NYU, so it felt very full circle.
What did you teach?
I taught a course in the Graduate School of Publishing about the impact of Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Google on publishing.
Oh, fascinating. Oh, wow. That's cool to go back to your alma mater too. Oh,
yeah. I know. It made me feel old though.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I hear you. Well, first off, for folks who are not as familiar with Protocol, can you give us a rundown on Protocol?
Sure. So Protocol is a tech publication we launched last year. We are by the publisher of Politico, but a completely separate brand. And we cover the people, power, and politics of tech, which is sort of our tagline. But I would say we're differentiated in that we are writing less so for a consumer audience and more so for a tech audience. So people who are working in tech, regulating tech, studying tech. And for that reason, we go really deep into, I think, a number of verticals, areas of coverage, beats that are maybe less covered. So we have, a great team covering enterprise technology. We have a really excellent team covering China. That I think is really interesting and differentiated. We have a fintech team. I'm on our policy team. We have some great reporters covering labor and workplace issues, DEI. We have an excellent venture capital reporter. And we're rapidly growing. So if anybody hears this and knows something good to join us, here's my little plug that we have a lot of jobs open, which is a great thing in media right now.
How refreshing to hear. We're hiring. Hey, anybody? Hey, anybody? Who's going on? Yes. Biz Carson is one of our favorites over at your team.
Yes.
That we've had on here before and all that good stuff. So yes. Okay. So Issie, how is your inbox? How do you keep it organized?
Oh my God, I don't. I absolutely do not keep it organized. My inbox is a hot mess and I am a mark all as read person.
Oh, me too.
So that's how I keep it, not organized, but sort of out of sight, out of mind. That's how I get rid of the nasty notifications and just get on with my day. So no, my inbox is not good. It's not a model for anybody out there to emulate.
There's very few that are. I feel I've had so many people be like they're mass deleters. Last week I had a star system person who like pink and red and all these types of stars. And I was like, wow, that's a pretty elaborate one. Mass just total, put it in the delete all the way. Like everyone has a different thing. So specifically for pitches, do you do any filing system of those or how do you handle pitches?
On my best days, I will flag things for follow-up to remind
There you go.
myself to go back to them later. And sometimes I will not remember to even check my flagged messages for like a month. And then that's when, your listeners out there probably get an email from me saying, I'm so sorry for the delay. But is this still something we can work on together? And yeah, so I don't really have a filing system. I drive some of my, tech reporter colleagues who are like very into the productivity apps and
Oh
whatnot
my.
nuts because I organize things like I Slack myself my story ideas or and my to-do list.
Interesting.
But it's not like a fancy Slack tool. It's like literally I just have a DM conversation with myself, a very long one, where I go back and like see some of the stuff that I wanted to remember and like often not. And then, yeah, so I'm not very good about filing pitches away, but I do try to respond to them. As much as I mark all as read, I do try to skim, all my inbox as these emails come in. And if anything seems like remotely interesting, I will try to follow up right away. A big problem that I have is because I cover policy, I do have an inbox that fills up with just every press school email from the White House. And, and that's the stuff that I miss that I miss most often is because I'm so used to most of it being background noise that that doesn't really have to do with my beat.
Yeah.
And then every so often there's a call that's about something very relevant to my beat. And I have to make sure to be on the lookout to catch those.
Mm-hmm. Oh, now I haven't had a situation like this before where we've had someone so tied to policy. So do you have kind of like your newsletters that you go to that are like coming from the Fed, the White House, the Senate floor? Like, I don't even know the newsletters for that, but is that something you do or have?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even newsletters. It's usually the press reps for lawmakers. So Chuck Schumer or just, various lawmakers or committees, committees where I've covered their hearings, the Energy and Commerce Committee, the Judiciary Committee, and, even within the executive branch, so you've got the White House, but then you've got you've got the NSC, you've got the FCC, the FTC, you have to get on all
the
of
EPA. I know that because I'm in a policy class right now for my PhD. I was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that's under the White House specifically, like the executive branch. I had no idea, like EPA's under that. Yeah.
And so a lot of that stuff, like I said, it kind of becomes background noise because it often isn't something I need to report on, but sometimes it is. And so, a lot of good pitches can get buried somehow under that sort of avalanche of just, generic reports coming out of the government.
Yep. Okay. So when you are thinking and contemplating and looking at your Slack channel to yourself, for instance, on what you might consider. And I'm noticing from just some of your coverage, you've covered everything from, what Facebook is doing on Trump or what Google is committing to ad tech or the Senate passes billions for all this stuff. Like that's a big hot topic I saw got passed just recently. How do you think of doing a story? Does it hit you like, oh, I'm on my walk with my dog, or I'm in the shower, or I'm just looking at my Slack channel? Like, is there any inspiration funnel for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly talking to people. It's mostly, that's where I get my best stories is talking to people who are, in this line of work or studying it or have some insider knowledge. And I can report out a story that they are telling me, hopefully for the first time. So the best stories that I write and the best inspiration is when I'm just talking to people and they tell me something I don't know that I think that our readers don't know. Then, of course, there's the news cycle. So, you mentioned the Senate passed billions of dollars in the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act. That is a multi-$100 billion bill that is pouring money into science and technology. And as a tech reporter, I have to cover that. So do all the other reporters covering Congress.
Yes, exactly.
In general, the idea of some bipartisan progress happening in the country. So that's just a big news story that affects my beat and then I need to cover. And then, sometimes it's driven by the companies. Those are the times when Facebook has a big announcement and they will pre-brief reporters, or Facebook will make some change. And then I kind of have to synthesize that for our readers. Sometimes it's the courts. I recently covered the Supreme Court decision on a big anti-hacking statute. And sometimes it is pitches. I mean, I do like to work with PR people who, have a good sense of what I cover and who have really useful sources for me to talk to. But I have to say that pitches are, I guess, the hardest type of inspiration because, as a reporter and somebody who tries to do a lot of accountability reporting, I often am trying to find the stories that I'm not getting pitched on.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, as we know with pitching, there's always an objective, which is like, this is my client. Don't you want to cover it? So yes, I hear you on that front. You're speaking a little bit of like, oh, okay, I get my story ideas from, people in the conversations I'm having. Are you ever open to, because we get asked this a lot, are you ever open to like, oh, hey, I got someone that just might be of interest, or this person with this fancy title who is a source, could be a resource, no pitch, no story to push, just like, hey, they're a fancy title, person who used to be at the EPA that's on the committee of blah, blah, blah. Like, is that interesting and compelling to you as an email or a pitch?
Yeah, it definitely is, but it has to come in the right way. Like I've had people pitch me, just a generic person to talk to, and I don't know what I'm supposed to talk to them about.
Yeah.
So if this person at the EPA has, specific thoughts on, such and such, new rule that just came out, or has some kind of insider knowledge that they feel is undercovered, like give me some sense of what they want to talk about. It doesn't have to be a fully formed pitch, like, hey, profile my client who used to work at the EPA, but just what does this person know that I need to know?
Exactly.
And, generally, like, I don't know. I find that conversations where somebody just comes in and wants to talk about, trends or, I don't go that far, but
who has time for that? No.
Yeah. And it's always, even if I don't respond to that pitch right away and say, yes, I want to talk to this person out of the blue about like who knows what, and maybe it'll go somewhere. Even if I don't do that, I will return to it when I'm covering something that's relevant. So for instance, I just wrote a story about the FCC has this new program on giving away money for broadband access to low-income Americans or people who lost their jobs during the pandemic. And I was interested in writing about not just the fact that the program existed, which a lot of news was covering at the time, but how the implementation was rolling out, like how it was going. So I just looked back in my inbox and found a great pitch that included a number of activists and community organizers and people who are actually working to get people signed up for this. And
there you go.
So there were like a number of sources for me in there that I immediately went back to, and they kind of stated their case for why they thought, what they thought the next steps needed to be now that the program was out there. So, just because I didn't respond to that pitch immediately, I did.
You got it in your back pocket. Yeah. I've heard so many people on here, they just use their inbox as their own Google. They'll go back in there and search that thing, and they find some pitch from 4.5 months ago and they pull that thing up. Yep. It seems so basic. I can't tell you, it's probably dozens of people at this time. I'm like, is that all we have? Just a search bar into your inbox of thousands of emails. But, hey, I guess effective. So go with it. Well, that was insightful and very helpful. So key takeaway is it's got to have the hook and the timeliness to why you'd want to speak with them. Timing is, of course, a lot of this, because who knows if the Senate decides like, we're going to put this bill forward that impacts tech. Actually this tech legislation that came out just about, we want to compete with China. We got bipartisan support. I didn't hear a damn thing about, you probably know, Izzy, like that was maybe coming about, but I'm like, wait a second. I saw it on the BBC this morning. I'm like, this was even in the works. It seemed very sudden to me. And I could just imagine being a reporter like, oh, shoot, okay, this is live,
Yeah, well, that's the one that I was talking about. That was the hundreds of billions of dollars. That is something, we were following.
Yes, you were on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Today's interview will continue after this brief message brought to you by OnePitch. Are you curious to see the unique ways OnePitch helps PR professionals and marketers pitch journalists? Head to onepitch.co to learn about our new One Pitch score and see how easy it is to find the right journalist to pitch your news to. Sign up for your free account today. Now, back to today's episode.
Okay, Izzy, I have a fill in the blank section here. So let's give you the phrase and you could fill it in with whatever you want. Usually insightful. My favorite sources always.
Tell me something that I don't know and that not a lot of people know.
There you go. The most annoying sources always.
Pitch me on stories I've just written.
Oh, bad form. You'll get a response from me if.
Usually if I know you already.
There you go.
Very helpful, but.
There you go. You'll never get a response from me
if you follow up too many times, it just pisses me off so much. I mean, or you will get that like the most annoyed, angry response because you would just be shocked the number of people who I don't know who cold pitch me and then will follow up every day.
Every day?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's wild.
I wonder if that's just a bot or something at this point. How many follow-ups is too many, by the way?
Oh, I think one is good.
Yes, that suffices. One and done. Okay. It would be a huge help if you
didn't oversell what your client's story is. I recently had a pitch in my inbox where the pitch was just so much more compelling than the actual story. And I ended up building a story sort of around it, but it made the interview a real struggle because somebody had pitched me something that was really a lot more than what the
inflated
story was.
The best compliment I received about my work was
that I'm tough but fair.
Oh, I like that. One thing I think people should know more about me is
that I want to get the accurate story. So I think a lot of times people come to a question that I ask in a very defensive crouch and try to sort of obfuscate. And I just want what the accurate story is.
The last best thing I ate or cooked was?
Actually, last night I made a pretty good fish dish. I can't take too much credit for it because it was a HelloFresh, but it was Baja
Hey, you know what?
Ramundi, if anybody is a HelloFresh subscriber.
You still cooked it, Izzy.
I did.
You take that credit. Yep. Quarantine has taught me
to really value my work-life balance because I have a toddler and trying to juggle the two at all times is a challenge. So you really need to be able to, compartmentalize and set aside the time for each.
Mm-hmm. My perfect Sunday is.
Oh, this is also relevant to my toddler, but
yeah.
He, for some reason, loves the sound of the trumpets on CBS Sunday morning.
Really?
So we have breakfast and then we gather in front of the TV for him to listen to the trumpets. He has no interest, obviously, in most of the stories
yes, of course.
on CBS Sunday morning, but we do that. And then, we'll go for like a long walk or maybe like out to lunch now that it's nice out. And yeah.
I love that. That's nice. Yeah, and it's summer right now while we're recording. So it's actually nice and lovely out. Well, Izzy, what are you reading, consuming, watching? I mean, obviously listening to some trumpets, but what else you got?
So I am, let's see, I've been watching Handmaid's Tale. Actually, I've been
okay.
On a lot of the shows that only I watch and my husband doesn't because it's NBA playoff season.
Oh,
so
perfect. So you have your stuff. Mm-hmm.
So I have my time. Usually we watch most things together, but so I've been watching Handmaid's Tale, Younger, and I just finished the Challenge All-Stars, which if you're not familiar is the evolution of Real World Road Rules Challenge. And
wow.
all the OGs from like the 90s and the early 2000s. And that
was
enjoyable to me.
Wow. Wait, the challenge? I don't even know this, and I'm an elder millennial. I'm behind.
The challenge, yeah. I don't know if you ever watched the Real World Road Rules Challenge back in the day, but
God, barely. But it rings
on MTV. So this is an evolution of that, and it was very exciting to me.
Oh, okay, perfect. This is why we ask. We got to know. What about and just as an aside, since we're here, what is your baby like to watch? or listen to? Or like, what's the latest, kid favorite thing?
He is bizarrely obsessed with Hamilton, for which
What?
for a 2-year-old. Yeah, I know. But I mean, I really love it. And because we were stuck in
The music's
quarantine all
good.
the time, there's only so much, kid music that I could listen to. So I would start
Yeah.
playing Hamilton. And then the movie came out last year and he just fell in love. Like,
Oh, I love
guess
it.
he recognized some of the songs. And so he just being able to see it on the stage. So that's like the one thing that if you put it on, he can watch the full thing straight through, which is not a typical
Wow.
2-year-old's attention span. But other than that, he also does like kid stuff like Daniel Tiger on PBS.
Oh, yes.
And he's
heard that's
really
a favorite.
into books. He loves books.
That's great. Daniel the Tiger. I've heard of such persona. Yes. Okay, Izzy, what do you feel is the future of journalism looking like?
It's an interesting time to ask that because I think it's getting so fragmented. We're seeing so many great journalists even start and do their own thing, which I think is like a very appealing concept. It's also a very scary concept because you lose editors and lawyers and you lose like a lot of the armor that you get in a larger news organization. You lose the big sort of investigative departments, which exist in a lot of news organizations. So I think there are upsides and downsides. And I think we will see how much people are willing to pay for individual subscriptions over time. I mean, I've signed up for a number of them. I've kind of always been somebody who I do the thing people ask me to, like I contribute to the GoFundMe or I buy the Kickstarter or what, if these are people I know and
Substack.
If they ask me to do something like that, because I would want the same. So now that people are splitting off and doing Substacks, I'm subscribing and I'm like, wow, I'm really hitting a high number of these things that I'm paying for because, when you're just subscribing to one, it doesn't feel like a lot to spend money on. And I really believe in spending money on journalism. Like I buy, if I find I'm hitting an outlet's paywall a lot, then I figure that it's worth something to me and I should subscribe to it. But yeah, the subscriptions do add up.
Yeah, I've thought about that. That's a topic a couple people are trying to crack. But like, how do you get the all access pass and just call it like, hey, just for $199, you know what? A month, but that would be a lot. Actually, I just threw out that number, but I'm like, shit, that's quite a lot. I don't know,
Yeah, and it all raises questions about access to information.
Recurring theme.
I think we need non-paywalled content. Probably not going to get that outside of a big noisy organization. Even those are often putting up paywalls, which I understand too. So
yes, it is an interesting evolving time. Maybe you could do another class there for your alma mater on this.
I know, yeah.
They should call you back up. Okay, well, Izzy, now to my favorite part, which is our Mad Libs, and I'll give you the phrase and I'll fill it in and then I will read you back the whole thing. And sometimes they're just silly and sometimes they're very accurate. So it runs the spectrum for sure. For sure. Okay. So first thing is, what is just any catchphrase, like just do it?
How you doing?
How you doing?
I just watched the Friends reunion, so that's.
Oh, was it good? By the way, I did not. Was it good or cheeseball?
So it was pretty delightful, but I'm a super fan.
Okay,
there were aspects of it that were like I would have really been amused to see them do a whole new episode. It was more of a retrospective, but I really enjoyed it.
That's what I heard. I was like, no, I want an episode. Like now, where are we? Yeah, okay, that's a whole other topic, a whole other podcast. Okay. All right. What's a journalist scare phrase that you never want to hear?
Correction.
Ooh, yeah. That's a good one. Okay. What about an empowering buzzword that you'd hear in journalism?
Accountability.
Accountability. Yes. This is our old Mad Lib little one. We've updated it, but I love it anyway. Okay. What about an adjective?
Circular.
And what about a part of a pitch?
Salutation.
Got it. Okay, another adjective.
Corporate.
Part of a pitch.
Client's name.
That's cool. That works. Okay, an amount of time.
525,600 minutes.
Oh, wait a second. Okay. Wait, okay. Well, we'll just roll it up to like 500,000 because I totally forgot that song. I know. Okay. But now I got to like sing the whole thing. Okay, are you going to sing it for me? Maybe we do that?
Okay, sure.
Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
525,600 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that was great. No one's ever sang on this, Izzy.
Great, first time for everything.
I love it. Wow, okay. And no one's ever given that answer before, by the way. Fantastic. Okay. What's another adjective?
Fuzzy.
Fuzzy. Singular noun.
Candle.
Candle. Okay, almost done. A topic.
Climate change.
Climate change. And then a verb that ends in ing, ideally.
Typing.
Typing. And then another verb. That's it.
Swinging.
Swing it. Okay, we'll go with swing. Okay, here we go, Izzy. To me, tech journalism is how you doing? It consists of corrections and accountability on the daily. If a pitch has a circular salutation, I will absolutely respond to it. However, if a pitch has a corporate client, you can expect no reply from me. If 525,600 minutes goes by and you do not see an email back from me, you can assume I am not fuzzy about it. The best stories always have candles and are usually about climate change. And the best way to reach me is by typing to me, but you can also swing it over to me.
Okay. There we go.
I like this one.
I do respond to emails about corporate clients. I do have to issue a correction about that. As a tech reporter, I would be pretty.
That is required. Okay, perfect. So slight correction on that front. Oh, Izzy, this was so lovely. I love the recommendations. I love the singing. We got to learn so much about you. We learned about your inbox. It's crazy, but you still search in there. So I love it.
Great. Thank you so much for doing this. It was very nice to talk to you.
Yes, this was great. Thanks so much, Izzy. We will be reading on policy, keeping up real fast on your stuff.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Coffee with a Journalist featuring Issie Lapowsky from Protocol. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. And if you have a moment, please leave us a review to share your thoughts about the show and today's guest. To learn more about the latest tools on OnePitch and to subscribe to our weekly podcast newsletter, head to our website at onepitch.co. We'll see you all next week with a brand new guest and even more insights about the journalists you want to learn more about. Until then, start great stories.